Have you ever held your baby close, watched their eyes move slowly across your face, and wondered what they actually see? Here is something that will catch you off guard. In the very beginning, they can barely see you at all. To a newborn, the world is a soft blur of light and shadow, shapes without edges, faces without detail. And yet, from almost the very first moment, they already know you. So this is the strange and quietly beautiful story of how your baby comes to see you, not only with their eyes, but with everything they are. And how, week by week and month by month, you slowly become the clearest, the most familiar, and the most important thing in their entire world. Stay with me all the way through, because the moment it all changes, the moment your baby truly sees you for the first time, is something most parents never realize they are watching when it happens. Let us begin where your baby began, in the blur. In those first days of life, your baby's eyes are brand new and barely working. Their vision is extraordinarily fuzzy, able to make out little more than vague forms, and the difference between light and dark. If you have ever taken off a strong pair of glasses and looked across a foggy room, you have a small sense of it. They cannot see across a room at all. The bright, saturated colors of the nursery you so carefully decorated are almost entirely lost on them, because color vision arrives slowly over the coming months. The mobile spinning above the crib is, for now, a soft swirl of pale movement. To a newborn, the world has not yet come into focus, and it will not for a while. And here's the part that undoes people when they hear it. None of that blur is emptiness. Because while their eyes are still catching up to everything else, the rest of your baby is already locked onto you completely. They know your voice, the one low, steady sound they listened to for months in the dark before they were ever born, the voice that reached them through muscle and fluid and the rhythm of your own heartbeat. They know your scent and will turn their head toward it over a stranger's every time. So, in those first foggy days, your baby is not a blank slate waiting to meet you. They have already met you. They simply have not seen you yet. They are waiting, in a sense, for their eyes to finally confirm what every other part of them has known since before they had a face to turn toward you. And even inside that blur, something is guiding them. Newborns are powerfully drawn to contrast, to the places where light meets dark, to edges and boundaries. And the single most contrast-rich, most compelling thing in a baby's narrow field of view is a human face. The dark line of the hairline against the skin, the eyes, dark against the lighter face around them. Researchers studying babies just hours old have found that they will look longer at a simple pattern arranged like a face than at the very same features scrambled out of order. Before they understand anything at all, before they have a single memory, they are already pulled toward faces. They come into the world looking for us, and of all the faces that will ever pass over them, one will appear more than any other, leaning in close, again and again. Yours, which brings us to the first weeks, and to something that is no accident at all. A newborn's eyes can focus most clearly at a distance of roughly 8 to 12 inches, just a hand's span. Now stop and think about what sits at exactly that distance. It is your face when you cradle your baby in your arms to feed them. Of everything in the entire universe, near and far, the very first thing a baby's eyes are physically built to bring into sharp focus is the face of the person holding them. Nature did not leave that to chance. The distance is not random. It is an invitation, written into their biology, to memorize the one person who matters most. So in those early feeds, when your baby stares up at you with that strange, unblinking, almost ancient intensity, understand what is really happening behind those eyes. They are not gazing off into empty space. They are studying the first clear image their eyes have ever produced. And that image is you. They are tracing the landscape of your face, the curve of your cheek, the line of your mouth, the place where your eyes catch the light, the way the rest of us would memorize the layout of home. At first, their gaze tends to wander to the outer edges, the hairline, the chin, the boundary of your face. But over the following weeks, something shifts, and they begin to look more and more at the center, at your eyes. They have found the part of you that talks back without words. And there is something happening in those locked gazes that runs deeper than seeing. When a parent and baby hold each other's eyes, Researchers have found that the bonding chemistry in both of them stirs, the same quiet biology that underlies the deepest human attachments. Your baby looks at you, and something in their developing brain settles. You look back, and something in yours does too. The gaze is not one-directional. It is a loop, a circuit being completed, and every time you meet their eyes during a feed instead of looking past them, you are closing that circuit again. As those weeks pass, the studying slowly hardens into recognition. Researchers have found that within just days of birth, babies begin to prefer their own mother's face over an unfamiliar one, weaving together your voice, your smell, and the gradually sharpening shape of you into a single, known, trusted person. You are becoming, in their forming mind, not just a face among faces, but the face, the one that means warmth is coming, the one that means the crying is about to stop, the one that means safe. And then comes the moment that changes everything. The one I told you to stay for. Somewhere around 6 weeks of age, often on an ordinary, unremarkable day when you are running on no sleep and expecting nothing, your baby looks up at you and, for the very first time, smiles. Not the fleeting, flickering half-smiles of sleep that you have seen and wondered about. A real one. A wide, deliberate, unmistakable smile aimed directly at you. Their eyes find your eyes, and their whole face opens like something blooming. This is what researchers call the social smile, and it is one of the most significant milestones in all of human development. Because it is the first undeniable proof that your baby does not merely see your face anymore. They recognize it. They have connected it to comfort, to warmth, to relief, to safety, and now looking at it, they are moved to respond. They are answering you. Think about what that means for you, the parent. For 6 long weeks, often longer, you have been pouring everything you have into a tiny person who could not yet show you that any of it was landing. You fed at 3 in the morning, you paced the hallway, you learned their cries, you gave and gave in to what often felt like a void. And then, one ordinary day, out of nowhere, they look up at you and they smile, and suddenly the whole exhausting, sleepless, thankless climb has a small face beaming back at you from the top of it. That smile is your baby telling you, in the very first real language they possess, I see you, and you are my favorite thing in the entire world. It is the first word in a conversation that will last the rest of your lives. And if this is making you think about your own baby right now, the first time you saw that smile, or the wait for one still ahead of you, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, because everything here is built on what infant research actually shows, not on what we assume a baby feels. Because the conversation that smile begins is only going to deepen from here. In the weeks after that first smile, your baby learns that the smile works. They discover slowly that when they smile, you smile back. And a delicious little loop begins, the two of you trading expressions for the simple joy of the exchange. Around 2 months, the cooing starts. Those soft, open vowel sounds they aim at your face and then pause, as if waiting for your reply. Give it to them. Answer those sounds as though they were the most fascinating thing anyone has said to you all week, because to your baby, building a brain on the back and forth itself, they are. And somewhere around 3 or 4 months, if you are lucky, you will hear the sound that melts every parent who has ever lived. The first laugh. They are not just seeing you now. They are delighting in you. As the months roll on, their eyesight finally begins to sharpen towards something like our own. And as it does, you come into focus in deeper and deeper ways. Color floods in, and the world that was a pale wash becomes vivid. Depth perception develops, and they begin to understand that things and people exist in space near and far, coming and going. They start to track you with their eyes as you move across a room, their head turning to follow you, their whole body orienting toward you like a small sunflower toward the sun. You no longer have to be 8 inches away to be seen. Now they can find you across the room, and the moment they do, their face lights up. You have become the thing they are always quietly looking for. And then, somewhere between 6 and 9 months, your baby crosses into a new and revealing stage. Quite suddenly, they may grow wary of strangers. The friendly neighbor who could hold them happily a month ago now gets a trembling lip and a desperate reach back toward you. The relative who wants a cuddle is met with tears. Parents often worry when this happens, certain something has gone wrong. But this so-called stranger anxiety is in truth a milestone in disguise, and a beautiful one. It means your baby can now see, with total clarity, the difference between you and everyone else in the world. For months, they have been refining the picture, and now it is sharp. They have not just learned faces in general, they have learned yours specifically, and they have decided, without question, that yours is the one that means safety. Their fear of the stranger is really just the other side of their certainty about you. Around this same time, you may notice they protest when you simply leave the room. This too is new, and it too is a sign of how clearly they now see you. Your baby has begun to understand that you continue to exist even when you walk out of sight, and that you can go away. So when you do, they call you back, not to be difficult, but because the most important thing in their world just disappeared, and they need to know it is coming back. Each time you return, calm and warm, they learn the lesson again. You always come back. The center holds. And then comes one of the most extraordinary developments of the entire first year, the one that reveals just how completely you have become their reference point for everything. Late in that first year, your baby begins to do something almost no other young creature on Earth does. They follow your eyes. When you turn to look at something across the room, they look too, tracking your gaze to find what you found, checking what has your attention. Researchers call it joint attention, and it is a quiet revolution in how your baby sees. Because it means they no longer just look at you, they have begun to see the world through you. Your attention has become their guide to what is interesting, what is important, and above all, what is safe. There is a famous line of research that shows this with almost unbearable tenderness. Babies were placed on a surface with what looked like a sudden drop-off beneath a sheet of clear glass, perfectly safe but visually alarming, a little visual cliff. And again, the babies, uncertain whether to crawl across, did the same thing. They stopped, and they looked up at their mother's face to decide. When the mother's face showed calm and encouragement, the babies crossed. When her face showed fear, they stopped and would not go. They were not reading the drop. They were reading her. Your face has become, by the end of the first year, the instrument your baby uses to measure the whole world. If your face says it is safe, then it is safe. If your face says be careful, they are careful. You are not just something they see. You are how they decide what everything else means. So, by the close of that first year, the question we began with, the question of how your baby sees you, has an answer that has traveled light years beyond eyesight. When your baby looks at you now, they do not simply register a face among faces, they see safety itself. They see the person who comes when they cry, who answers when they reach, who returns when they have gone, who turns the dark and the strange and the overwhelming back into something a small person can bear. They see the one fixed point that their entire world is built around and measured against. You have become to your baby what north is to a compass. Everything else in their life is read in relation to you. And here is the quiet, almost unbelievable truth underneath all of it. You did not become this to your baby through grand gestures or expensive things or flawless, by-the-book parenting. You became their entire world in the most ordinary way imaginable, through 1,000 small moments they were watching far more closely than you ever knew. Every feed where your face was the thing their new eyes fought to focus on. Every time you came when they called in the night. Every smile you returned, every coo you answered. Every time you walked back into the room and proved, again, that you always come back. Bit by bit, their eyes sharpened. And bit by bit, in perfect step, so did their certainty about you. They did not just learn to see you. They built a case for you. Observation by observation, ordinary day by ordinary day, until you became the clearest, safest, most trusted thing in a world that is, to them, still mostly a beautiful blur. A small and gentle note before we close, because it genuinely matters. Babies develop their vision and their social connection on their own individual timelines, and a fair amount of variation is completely normal. One baby smiles at 5 weeks and another at 9, and both are perfectly fine. But you know your baby better than anyone on Earth. If you ever feel they are not making eye contact, not tracking your face or following objects, or not responding to you the way you might expect for their age, there is no harm at all, and a great deal of peace of mind in raising it calmly with your pediatrician. Trusting that quiet instinct is not anxiety. It is simply part of loving them well, and early attention is always a gift. So the next time your baby looks up at you, whenever that is, hold the gaze a moment longer than you normally would, and remember the whole long journey hidden inside it. The blur that knew your voice before it could see your face, the edges and contrasts that first pulled their new eyes toward you, the 8 inches of focus that made your face the first clear image of their life, the recognition that turned you into the face, the smile that finally told you it was all landing, the eyes that learned to find you across a room, the fear of strangers that was really certainty about you, the glance up at your face to know whether the world was safe. When your baby looks at you, they do not see just a person. They do not see just a parent. They see the first face that ever came into focus. They see the one their whole world learned to read by. They see safety. They see home. They see the answer to a question they have been asking since before they could open their eyes. They see you. If this gave you a new way of seeing your baby seeing you, do one thing before you go. Drop a comment telling us about the very first time your baby truly smiled at you, the moment it landed, so other parents waiting for theirs can hold on to it, and subscribe so the next one finds you. Because the more you understand what your baby sees in you, the more you realize that all those long, blurry, exhausting days were never just something to get through. You were not simply surviving them. You were, slowly and quietly, and one ordinary moment at a time, becoming someone's entire world.